Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's Workforce Strategy webinar with CLN, the Construction Leadership Network. Please note that all participant lines are muted. You can also minimize or expand the GoToWebinar sidebar as needed by clicking on the red arrow in the top left corner. You can submit questions for our presenters by typing them into the questions chat box on your control panel. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. If time does not permit that we answer all questions, you will be contacted by email with answers. Now, I'd like to introduce today's moderator, Greg Sizemore, who is ABC National Vice President of HSC and Workforce Development. Over to you, Greg.
Thank you very, very much, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thank you for participating in what I believe is going to be a fascinating webinar on a program, CORE+Flex. I would like to thank our presenters and sponsors ahead of time by recognizing Construction Leadership Network, Poole Anderson, and Tradesmen International. The CORE+Flex is a proven workforce strategy to protect contractors. And I believe today you're going to walk away with a lot of great nuggets of information and an opportunity to improve your business. The webinar goals for today are pretty straightforward. We're going to show you how using contract labor and CORE+Flex can fortify construction businesses against current crises and economic pressures. We're going to show you how you can optimize your workforce productivity and minimize labor-related costs between 11 and 24%, and greatly reduce skilled labor shortage challenges and expand your business out of your normal geographic area. Before we get started, as we do on every good, great construction project, we want to start today with a safety moment. And I would like to ask one of our panelists today, Frank, to go ahead and open us up with a safety moment. Frank, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Greg. At Tradesmen International, we begin each and every speaking opportunity with a safety talk or safety moment, as of course the safety of our workers as well as yours is our #1 core value. The summer season can present unique hazards for those working outdoors in the hot weather. The combination of heat, humidity, and physical labor can lead to a variety of heat-related illnesses. So proper protection and simple precautions can often prevent these types of illnesses and basically save lives. So how can heat-related illness be prevented? It's pretty simple. So I'm just going to run through a few tips to assist with these heat-related challenges. The most obvious one, drink water. Plenty of cool drinking water should be available on all job sites, and especially if workers are out in the elements. They should be encouraged to drink, if you're in the direct sunlight, a 16-ounce bottle of water per hour, even if they're not thirsty. Another tip, wear light or loose-fitting clothing. Tip number 3, protect yourself from the sun. Remember your mother told you wear sunscreen. Even SPF 15 blocks 93% of UV rays. If sunscreen's not practical, encourage your workers to wear hats. Anything that shades the sun helps. And then the last tip is just allow some flexibility. Make sure your workers, our workers, are taking regular breaks in the shade if possible, and even better in an air-conditioned area. And with that, I just want to remind everybody to stay safe, and back to you, Greg.
Thank you, Frank. I know it's been a few years since I've been in the field, and when I make those job site visits, Frank, I find out how just out of condition I am. And so when we go out there, it's a great safety moment to remember to hydrate, hydrate, hydrate in these temperatures that are actually triple digits these days. What I'd like to do is go ahead and start now by introducing the panelists. They've done a great job of introducing me. My name is Greg Sizemore, but our panelists today are Frank Muscarella, who you just heard from. He's a vice president of training at Tradesman Education Center. John Lehman, Senior Vice President, a Poole Anderson Construction Company, Construction Leadership Network President, and Ed Rojak, the Director of Marketing for Tradesmen International. So we're going to jump in here, but I'm going to start by asking Ed a question. And Ed, I would like to know, how has tradesmen been impacted by COVID-19, and where do things stand now?
Thanks, Greg, and hi, everyone. Yeah, so tradesmen, early in the COVID stages, late March, early May, we were hit pretty hard, probably among the first construction companies to be hit. And that's because contractors obviously are sending back contract employees before they'll furlough or lay off their own employees. But the really good news for everyone to hear out there is for the last 10, 11 weeks, we have seen consecutive growth. And that growth can be defined as the number of orders coming in for our craft professionals, as well as the average number of craft professionals that are ordered. There are a couple of reasons for this. One, we know that existing construction workers are reluctant to come back to work at this point, whether it's because of health concerns or because of unemployment benefits that are coming to them. We have also noticed the number of phone calls coming into our office locations being cut by half, from 20,000, to right around 10,000. In saying so, the other reason would be companies are going back to CORE+Flex. CORE+Flex is what was used coming out of the Great Recession in 2010, 11, and 12. And a lot of our contractors are going back to it, so they're calling us back up and getting ramped up with CORE+Flex.
That's interesting, Ed. You're mentioning CORE+Flex. How about unpackaging that for us just a little bit and tell us what it exactly is?
Sure. It really is, when we say it's a proven workforce staffing strategy that enables contractors, large and small, any type of trade, to achieve an optimized workforce productivity. Ultimately, it enables contractors to sustain a balanced work-to-worker ratio. And how this is done, and I'll get into a little bit more detail in a little bit, is contractors will work with tradesmen, work with a contract labor support company, and they will determine what their core workforce should be. That's typically 30 to 40% lower than what they normally run on a full-time basis. As those employees can't handle the workload spikes, or if work exceeds what they can handle, that's when they call in Tradesmen International and utilize contract labor. That's when we flex in contract labor. As work diminishes, our clients, our contractors send back our people, and there's that balanced work-to-worker ratio. So if you go to the next slide, please. This is not something that's new. The CORE+Flex really has been a part of tradesmen's business model since 1992. We formalized the name of it CORE+Flex in 2003. But the point to that is we've done thousands of labor productivity analysis and W-2 analyses that help us determine, or help us work with our clients to determine what their core workforce should be. And in doing those analyses, we've determined, if you look to the top left, the chart up there, you'll see that most companies, most contractors that we've dealt with throughout the years are broken between 30, 40, and 30. 30% A-level, they're most productive, most qualified, they're high-level lead men, most safest. Then they have their 40% level, the reliable workers, they're mid-productive, good, solid people. And then they have their C-level, good, solid people, but this is the lower end of their workforce. Good people again, but the analyses have told us, and again, this is not me saying, it's the data that has shown that these are your most expensive workers. These are the people who have more higher de-hire costs, workers' comp type related costs, and so those are the people that we typically work with contractors to minimize. The beauty of right now, Greg, when it comes down to COVID, is the current situation. If you look to the right, contractors, because of what's happening, because of societal events and so on, most contractors are already down 35, 40, 45%. We've had contractors call us and say they're down 65%. So the beauty is right now, you're already downsized in many cases, in most cases. So contractors, the suggestion is now is the great time to implement CORE+Flex. Stay at your base level, stay at your 65% of what you had. As workload increases, that's when you plug in or flex in contract skill labor. Ultimately, that enables you to run lean and mean, increase your productivity, and ultimately, after you get out of the COVID situation, you'll be more profitable right out of the gate. Greg?
Well, Ed, that's a win-win in my world. So I like the way you teed that up. Frank, can I ask you to talk about the economic turndown and the new normal? What are you seeing geographically and how CORE+Flex works?
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Yeah, so the fact of the matter is, and Greg, you said it, economic downturns are the new normal. And these downturns that were once considered, basically anomalies are now becoming the new norm, and we are actually experiencing one every 5 to 6 or 8 to 10 years. When you pair that with the variables that affect us all as, industry, construction industry workers or companies, if you will, there's just so many peaks and valleys that affect us seasonally and on a per project basis. And the fact of the matter is, none of this is new. And people have asked us, why a tradesman, is this a new strategy? Like Ed said, is this an old strategy? This isn't even a tradesman strategy. This is a strategy that existed, well in advance of Tradesmen International being born. And a lot of people don't even understand the inception of our business. We were literally a commercial electrical contractor in Ohio called Rick Electric, with between 30 and 50 craft workers of our own, struggling with the same things that everybody in our industry struggles with on an annual or on a per project basis. And again, that lends itself to those variables I was talking about, whether subcontractors in the way, material shortages or delays, inspections, performance payments or draws, just all these things that create the worker to work velocity conundrum. So again, we taught ourselves, as a contractor, but couldn't execute as well as when we stepped out of construction and into construction labor management as Tradesmen International, that, paying for only productive hours worked increases profitability and reduces risk. And especially like Ed said today, running a lean workforce makes more sense now than it ever has and shouldn't really be a reaction. We should be more proactive as an industry and more proactive in setting up construction labor management strategies, which CORE+Flex is one of those. So with that, I'll throw it back to you, Greg.
Thanks, Frank. It's interesting because I'm getting the theme of a partnership here. So Ed, the obvious question is I'm now down to about 65 full-time workers. How can tradesmen guarantee to have solid trades when I need them?
Well, that is the question, right? Contractor works with us, they go with CORE+Flex, they reduce their core from 100 to 65, as you've said, and we better be able to deliver the quality and the number of individuals on an as-needed basis. And for that to happen, there's two things that have to happen. One would be planning and partnership. The second would be working with a company who has true recruitment power. To go to the first one here, planning and partnership, what is totally critical about making CORE+Flex work is a relationship that our contractors have, superintendents, project managers, site management, with our account executives and our local offices. We have many of our clients that are highly successful with this and getting the people they need because they literally invite our account executives, our construction labor managers, to their labor planning sessions, production meetings, and so on. This relationship, when I say it's critical, this enables the account executive to start understanding and knowing what the contractor is looking for. They're going to know that this particular contractor is looking for NCCER certifications, license, OSHA, security type clearances, TWIC, Red Badge, things such as MSHA. Those people will be the people that we will look through in our database, but that becomes part of us knowing who you are as a contractor So that's where the partnership and planning comes in. Most importantly is really the ability to plan ahead with us. If we work with you closely, we're going to typically get a 4 to 5 working day notice, which if you take a look to the chart to the right, if we get 4 to 5 working days lead time for the requesting of craft professionals, we hit a 94% fill rate on the day that those individuals are requested. Within 4 or 5 days of that date, we'll hit 98%. Conversely, if you only give us 1 to 2 day notice, and listen, we totally get it. We totally understand that there's going to be crisis situations. So if you call us on a Friday and you tell us you need, 10 people on Monday, we will work our butts off and get you the people that you need, but we go down to an 82% level. So that's 8 out of 10. So it's still a good fill rate and still quality, but the fact is it's not the 94% that you should be looking for. So if you go to the next slide real quick, please. The other reason, or the other way contractors can feel confident using CORE+Flex, using contract skilled labor, is really working with a company who has recruiting power. We all know the labor shortage. I can tell you, I mentioned earlier that the phone calls from job seekers to our offices has been cut in half, particularly right now because of COVID. So you need to have a partner that's going to be able to supplement your internal recruiting operations. And you need someone such as Tradesman, who has 181 offices across the country. We have a full national recruiting center. All combined, we have 205 full-time recruiters, over 500,000 now. I should have updated this. Over 500,000 field-tested craft professionals in our database. These are people that we put on client job sites who have met client satisfaction levels. And in addition to that, we have 80,000 plus travel day of dedicated trades. The most important thing, really, and the critical thing about Tradesman that makes us unique from anyone else out there, is that with a single push of the button, we pull all 205 recruiters across the country together as a single recruiting engine. I'm just going to give you a really brief, good example of how that works. Back in November of 2018, we had the Boston Columbia gas explosion, if you remember that. And we had a new client call us on a Friday saying they needed plumbers. So we worked with them over the weekend, and we got the contractual agreements between the two companies together. On Monday, we sent out a requisition to all of our recruiters across the country, letting them know what types of plumbers were needed, what type of certifications were needed, what type of reciprocity agreement would work with Massachusetts. And believe it or not, within 7 days, we mobilized from 43 offices, 152 licensed plumbers that again met reciprocity agreement with Massachusetts from all over all over the country, 43 offices to the Boston, Greater Lawrence area. Within 14 days, we had where we capped out at 397 licensed plumbers. And we really helped the client get those projects done, get 10,000 plus residential and businesses up and running, with gas lines, within the 2-month period of time. We actually beat the deadline, by having good, solid people there. So that's just a really good example of that's why you can be confident of working with contract labor and including CORE+Flex. Recruiting power, planning and partnership. Back to you, Greg.
Perfect. Thank you, Ed. So if the partnership is there with Tradesman, then in a nutshell, CORE+Flex enables contractors to confidently operate with and reduce core A and B workforce. It allows that workload to exceed what the A and B players can handle. Flex in contract skilled labor, or what we call just-in-time basis. And then certainly as the workload declines, they're able to send those tradesmen back, i.e. the contract labor. Is that right, Ed?
Yeah, like Frank said, it's really a common sense construction labor strategy that's been out there for a while. So yeah, essentially you run at a 30-40% lower core workforce, you flex in contract labor, you flex out contract labor, you flex it in. What happens is you sustain that balanced work to worker ratio which ultimately here it gets the job done more efficiently, and by the way, with higher quality, because you're only using your top A and B workforce as well as Tradesman International's top A and B.
Perfect. Listen, I'm going to jump ahead, and you guys heard me introduce John Liebman a moment ago as a Senior Vice President with Poole Anderson Construction. John, I understand that you all use the CORE+Flex. What was your deciding factor in using this as an approach? John, I believe your line's muted. John.
Greg, hi. Sorry about that.
There you go. Thank you. No worries.
I think somebody had me muted. So yeah, I'm gonna first of all, I want to thank you, and I appreciate you, Greg, facilitating, and tradesmen, and for our CLN members, I really appreciate this webinar. For me, all of this, and I was listening to this again. You know, I've done a lot of work with tradesmen and yourself, Greg, and what's interesting, I was looking at this and all of this information. I didn't know all of this when I first hired tradesmen. So, you know, looking back, it's kind of interesting. And our story, Poole Anderson Construction story, and myself specifically, was a very organic story. When I first came to Poole Anderson about 7 years ago, you know, just learning the company, we had great field operations, but as far as carpenters and laborers, I didn't know them at the time. I was getting to know them, and I remember sending some people out and had to hire some new people to support a project that wasn't close to our corporate office, and it was about 2 hours away. And we sent about 5 guys out to a project, and I won't forget it because it really changed the course of our history and my mindset on contract labor. I got a call shortly after from one of our superintendents, and again, I was getting to know the superintendents at Poole Anderson and whatnot. And basically, we had sent 5 people out to the job site. They were pretty much new to the company, and the message I got back from the superintendent was that out of the 5, there were 2 that were acceptable. And his words to me were, "Don't just send me bodies. I need good people." You know, because you know how it is. We talk about labor shortage, but you know, if you look at the other side of the fence, we all know that project durations have shortened over the years. It's much tighter to deliver projects for our clients and whatnot. So that the skilled labor and every bit of it, good subcontractors are critical to our projects. So at that point, we talked internally, and I know one of the things that I was very adamant about was that we didn't want to just hire to hire. And our goal was that we were going to shrink our operations, our field operations, to a core group. And thus, you know, CORE+Flex here that tradesman utilizes, but that was our terminology. We said, if we don't have the right people, then we're not going to self-perform the work. On the flip side of it, we make good profitability when we self-perform some of our work, which as a general contractor, we do concrete, you know, rough carpentry, you know, a lot of different type of trades. And so that hurts the bottom line. So we wanted to make sure that we had the right team and we can execute the projects. Since then, a couple of years later, we started utilizing tradesmen. And in one particular time, and I've talked to Ed countless times about this, where I really became a true believer is that I got a call one day from Paul, who's the regional manager for our territory. And Paul's a great guy. I consider him an extension of our team. And just out of the blue, he called me and he said, "Hey, I know you have some guys, you were looking for people in Philadelphia. That's not exactly my area, but I know what your needs are. When you need anybody, please let me know, and I will help make sure that those folks know that what you need. You know, and he went through the type of skilled labor, and he told me what I need. And from that point on, I was a true believer. And that was very valuable. So if anyone knows me, they know that I'm very passionate, and I'm a very collaborative guy, and I'm a huge believer in relationships. I've held on to relationships for 30 something years, and they've always benefited me, and hopefully vice versa, you know, so that it's extremely meaningful to our company to have a partner. And that's what it's been. It's been a partnership. As far as COVID goes and things of that nature in the last several months, it's been tremendous. You know, we did lose some people. We have some people, good core group came back. Thankfully, we had to furlough some people for a little while. We're just, you know, we're back on our feet, so to speak, but it's been a challenge. And I can tell you, I had an epiphany one day. I was driving to work in the morning and thinking, man, what am I going to do about these projects that are going to be starting up? And I remembered the one part of it is that, you know, the field wise, I've got tradesmen, so I don't really need to worry about that piece of it. If I need labor, I've got it. I just need to provide as much time as possible, because we've utilized tradesmen pretty much on all of our projects. And as much time as I can give them is always beneficial to the project, but they've always helped us in a pinch as well. So it's been a great relationship and very effective for our company.
That's great stuff, John. So there is something there. I love what you said at the bottom of that. They put job ready, effective talent on the project. Before you step away, I would really like to ask you another question specific to, it's like this. How has tradesmen and this CORE+Flex mentality helped you grow the business at Poole Anderson? What has been some of the direct impacts there?
Well, we obviously we have a large territory, a regional territory. It's not national, but it's regional, and we work specifically with our certain clients. We really like to go where they go, so our geography has expanded, and pretty much before I even knew about CORE+Flex, probably 3 years ago, we had an opportunity on a hotel project for a developer that we were doing all his hotels in the Philadelphia area, southern New Jersey, Harrisburg area, Pennsylvania, and he wanted to build one in Connecticut. And we were trying to figure out, think outside the box. There's a labor shortage. You've mentioned it. We've known it for a long time. We're all talking about it. It's starting to get old. So I was trying to figure out how we can man a project to do self-performance, because a lot of our work with this particular client, we relied on our self-performance work. We had to keep our costs to a certain price point, and we wanted control on our projects. And we started to internally think about how can we utilize tradesmen. And I thought, hey, if I team my superintendent and one of our key foremen, you know, we could build a team with tradesmen out in the field. So we started that dialogue with tradesmen. In fact, I spoke to Ed when we were at the ABC conference in Long Beach a couple of years ago. I sat down with several the tradesmen VPs, and we talked about this process. And I was a big proponent of it. And most recently, we had a project come up, an opportunity that we're working on right now that can really expand our territory quite a bit. And after I kind of vetted the opportunity and decided that we're going to put a strategy together internally at Poole Anderson, my second phone call, other than the internally, was to Paul Forcellini at Tradesman to tell Paul that, hey, I've got an opportunity. I'm going to have to figure out how I can self-perform work outside of my territory. So I'd like you to be involved in our strategic planning. And that was worth $1 million because talking to Paul, I realized that tradesman is on that particular client's projects around the country and they have knowledge. So that really is actually helping me right now develop a plan to execute their projects, because I've asked several questions of Paul. Can you find out how you're staffing the projects, or the general contractors are staffing the projects? You know, how are they working 7 days a week? You know, a lot of questions. So that really, they're part of the strategic plan, bringing them into the fold, so I can execute these projects at a much greater distance than we usually do, and that's expanding our revenue for the company. You know, in this troubling time right now, the mantra is always, you want to come out of things better than when you started. You want to come out, be the strong contractor or business coming out of it, and we've worked really hard at that, and I think we have the opportunity to do that. But we can't do it by ourselves. We've got to have the support. Yeah, so that's helped expanding that, as well as profitability, Greg.
Thanks, John. I appreciate that. Before I let you go, I've had you on the hook for a little bit. One slide that I really want you to kind of unpackage right there in the middle. When is it the right time to use CORE+Flex? You've got great experience in this space. When is that right time, if you were going to give any advice to someone?
Well, as I would say to anybody, it'll be project dependent, and it's always based on your needs and your strategic plan. I think some of the old school thinking is, and believe me, I was in this state of mind. I've been in this state of mind where, you think you have to have everything in-house. You have to have your own, personnel. Maybe you think you're not good enough if you have to use another resource. But I find that to be the opposite. It's too challenging right now in this industry to hire and retain people. It's costly. I was talking to Ed and Chandler the other day, and our hit ratio at Poole Anderson in trying to hire new field people is, I would say we're probably a good 2 out of 5, 2 out of 6 that would work out for us. And that's a challenge. It's costly from the perspective that you have to go through the whole HR process, train them and everything. And that's a challenge. So finding the right people for your organization is critical. I'd say definitely build your own core if you're doing self-performance. But you got to take a leap of faith in another outside the box opportunity to think, how can I perform all of this and be well and be profitable? And there is definitely that opportunity. It's a great challenge to hire right now. It's tremendous. We just had someone come in, and I hate to get into too much depth, but we just had someone come in recently the first day, and it didn't work out from the first day after the initial introduction and training and onboarding, and that's tough because you want to count on people. So having that outlet is tremendous.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. Real life breathing example, ladies and gentlemen, of somebody who's using the program and using it effectively. Frank, I believe you're going to show us how a contractor can reduce down to their core craft employees and increase his operating income. Frank, I'm going to give it to you. You've got control now, so walk us through this example, please.
Thank you, Greg. And thank you, John Lehman, for making me blush. I think it's amazing when one of our contractor clients steps up and gives a ringing endorsement of Tradesman International. But I think John said one of the most important things, even before I begin this piece, that it all has to do with partnership and communication, understanding the tradesman has a place in the equation, and that, of course, our client contractor has a huge place and space in the equation. And it's through that cooperation that gets things done. So there's a lot of terms that have been going around here: core and flex and strategy, and what does all that mean? So the contractor core workforce. So a simple definition: a core workforce would be a group of your construction employees that you can keep productive, not busy, January through December. And then obviously a lot of people do flex. A lot of contractors do flex, as I did when I owned my own construction business. That was my seasonal or summer or cyclical help, typically in Western New York, where I owned my business. Obviously, as you can imagine, that was, May through October. I ramped up probably an additional 10 on top of the 10 workers that I had and couldn't do without. Unfortunately, those 10 seasonal workers rarely made it past the holidays. So again, that causes that hire dehire scenario, which is where this CORE+Flex strategy was born. But the example that Greg was lending himself to there is the fact that we had a contractor in 2010 come to us and said, we've heard this CORE+Flex, we've heard this, keeping our workers productive, not busy. How is it going to save me money? Because he was a small business, and again, I won't give any names, but a small contractor, carpentry contractor, commercial work in Ohio, in the Cleveland area. 5 employees, came to us and said, show me how to save real money, and we'll use the service on an annual basis and make a commitment. And he had used us once in a while, more of a emergency or when things were burning down type of format. But anyway, we gave him a presentation that we would give any one of you or recommend to any contractor. And that presentation is literally just a basic job cost analysis. And I want to go through that with you guys and gals out there today, just to kind of show you, this is an example, again, of a business of 5, with 5 employees. So this is a business that does probably 1.5 to 2 million a year in annual sales. So again, you can scale your business against this, or possibly better, maybe at the end of this, webinar, you'll give us a call and we can come out and actually, fit a job cost analysis to your annual business or labor cycle. So let's just walk through this together. Again, in a cost plus bid situation, we'd be looking as a contractor at parting out cost of labor, parting out the cost of material, adding in whatever profit, usually between 7 and 15%, depending on the size of the project. And then we'd have to show that to the GC, CM, or owner, and obviously hope to win the award. So this is the labor portion here. At the bottom, you can see 5 full-time employees, 12 weeks, 40 hours a week. These commercial carpenters were making about $20 to $21 an hour, with a burden percentage on top of that of 42.6%, gives the contractor what we would call a fully loaded pay rate of $28.53. And if you just do some simple math, you can see $68,472 was the cost of labor on this project. And because I'm familiar, I can tell you that this contractor does tenant turnarounds and some R&R work. Material is going to be about $30,000 to $40,000. He's probably going to throw in another 10 or 15, for operating income. So as you can imagine, these projects are between 115 and 150, depending on the client and obviously the size of the job. But the real analysis that tradesmen would provide would be to really, in advance of the project, like John alluded to, really sit down and talk about the ebb and flow or the peaks and valleys of the project. And I talked a little bit about those earlier. We always seem to be racing, to get to an inspection so we can get a performance payment or a draw. Then usually after that point, there's a lull. And then again, there's the next inspection, or there's a sub in the way. And what it does is it creates that downtime. So if you have a company where you're doing one project at a time and you have 5 employees, on day one, even though it may not make the most sense, you start that job with 5 employees. Even though if you look at the median on this project, the median on this job would probably be 3 employees. And again, those are the kinds of things in advance of the job that tradesmen would assist in identifying. Where is that time where we've got standing around, or we've got guys that are basically eroding profitability on the job in place. And our suggestion would be, as you can imagine, to remove those workers and only go with the amount of employees that you could keep productive on the job basically throughout. So let's run the numbers again. 3 employees, 12 weeks, 40 hours a week at $28.53 is a new total of $41,083.20 for the labor portion of this contract bid. But of course, then there are opportunities where the job is going to scale up and extra workers are going to be needed. And that's that paying for, work to work velocity that tradesmen can assist with. So 2 tradesmen workers, just for the 5 weeks when it makes the most fiscal sense to be on the project to help get over the cyclical peak. And then of course we would go away, but 2 tradesmen workers, 5 weeks, 40 hours a week at $38 an hour, which again, as you can see, is $8 to $9 more than your fully loaded pay rate. And a lot of people get stuck on our bill rate. But the fact of the matter is, if you, instead of getting stuck on the bill rate, if you just look at the outcome, and that's kind of the rhyme to reason of this equation, focus on the outcome. So the outcome is this: we're going to take the $41,083.20 in the CORE+Flex scenario, we're going to add the $15,200, and we're going to get a new cost of labor total of $56,283.20 combined. And let me just recap, because that might have been a little confusing. If the contractor, and again, small business with 5 full-time employees, were to go into this job, him or herself, $68,472 would be the bid for labor. If you focus on only ever paying for productive hours worked, which is where the CORE+Flex strategy comes from, the new total is $56,283.20. And the cost savings at the end of the job is $12,000 back to the contractor's bottom line. Now, it may not seem like a lot of money, but if you consider the fact that this particular commercial carpentry contractor did about 10 or 15 of these projects annually, you're talking about $100,000 to $150,000 in operating income returned to the contractor on an annual basis. As well, there are a lot of risk factors that are reduced, like unemployment and workers' compensation, et cetera. So again, our value proposition or our value statement is, if you use the CORE+Flex strategy, not only will you make more money on a per project basis, you'll reduce risk and have more money to invest in your business, whether that's give benefits to the employees you keep, or increase marketing, or buy tools so you can even be more productive, et cetera. So with that, I'm going to throw it back to Greg, and I thank you for giving me that time, Greg.
Thank you, Frank. Very informative, a lot of moving pieces there, but bottom line is the bottom line, and you have an opportunity to save money here. John, I want to bring you back into this conversation right here. Using CORE+Flex, okay, how can you be more profitable using outsourced labor? Help us unpackage that a minute, John.
Well, I think, Frank brought up some good points. And I've mentioned some things that, when you go back and look at your cost to hire and things of that nature, and the amount of time you spend in actually hiring, if you really add up, management side and things of that nature, you'd be a little shocked at how much you actually spend in a lot of those cases, especially as projects ebb and flow. The way our company works, we do construction management, general contracting, design build. So we're not as consistent, with the amount of labor that we need on a given year, because it just depends on the types of projects we're doing and the types of contracts we're working on. But we usually try to do as much self-performance as possible. Like what's noted in the examples here, we bake this into our estimates. We cover ourselves with the labor. We already have a plan in place with tradesmen on how we operate together, and it's a supplementation. So as long as we have a core and team, and we have the right supervision, which we take great pride in our field supervision, it's managed well, And it all comes down to that. You can't go into something and assume somebody's going to give me something and that's going to be it. That's perfect. You have to have your plan in place. You have to have your management in place like anything else. And you have to think through the process. And you have to create the communication with the tradesman. Same thing as you create the communication with a subcontractor or your client or the architect engineers. The philosophy is the same. It's a partnership. And if you do it effectively, you can manage your cost well. You can look and find the savings that you made on the management side, the HR side. I think you'd be quite shocked at the savings and how well it works. And again, it's not for everybody, but I think most people, if they think about it in construction, things are progressing. You can't be stuck in your old ways of, the old ways we used to do things. That's long gone. It's starting to become a very progressive industry. And if you're not on board, you're going to be left behind. And, finding those strategies to execute your work is imperative, whether it be using a contract labor or other things in your business. You've got to find ways to be efficient, effective. And we're just not finding the labor anymore. I mean, it's just not there. Whether we talk about it in this perspective or not, it's not there. So having somebody that vets their people and has a training program and they're safety trained and they work well with you. And let's be frank, there's times when it's not perfect. There's nothing perfect. There's nothing perfect at Poole Anderson. We try hard to do the best we can and do well. But you're going to have a bad egg once in a while, or somebody just doesn't fit your team. To be able to call somebody up and say this isn't working, as opposed to saying I need to go hire somebody new. For me to hire somebody, that could take me weeks. If I go to tradesmen, I can get somebody in place within days. So that's a big deal.
John, that's a great piece of feedback, and I know we're about 15 minutes out from the expiration of this webinar, but what I heard from you is some people may view this as contract labor, some may be variable labor, some may call it temps, but you basically have an extreme amount of confidence in your relationship with tradesmen that you're going to get qualified, skilled craft professionals. Is that a fair statement, John?
That's a very fair statement, Greg.
It's all about the partnerships.
Yeah, and I'll say, as it's, kind of noted in here, you have to build a relationship. It's like anything. If you think you're just going to hire somebody and let it go, you might get what you need, but you might not. So, building the relationship is as important as building your project. And we've done that through various ways. We've brought tradesmen into our monthly operations meetings. Stephanie Schmidt and I had a plan to bring them in and talk to our project managers and superintendents. And to be quite honest with you, when I'm in the conversation and I'm explaining to our team that that we've got to be efficient, we've got to be effective, and we've been utilizing tradesmen, you need to build a relationship yourselves with them. So to ensure that you get the proper labor because you're accountable to your projects, it becomes much more meaningful when I'm standing next to them and explaining it to our team. They really buy into it that way, and tradesmen will come right in. They'll come into your office, show them what you do, because they'll get a lot of people are just curious. They don't know. Some people feel threatened by it, and there's no need to be. And tradesman becomes an extension of your company if you let it happen.
Thanks, John. I appreciate that. Ed, I want to bring you back into this conversation for a moment or two and ask you very specifically, what other benefits do contractors achieve by using CORE+Flex?
Well, CORE+Flex obviously saves contractors a large percentage of labor cost savings. But when you just use contract skilled labor in itself, tradesmen, contract labor is covered under our unemployment. we handle the healthcare, the benefits for our employees, and how that reduces healthcare for our contractor clients. Obviously, to be competitive for contract skilled laborers, you have to offer these craft professionals, the high-end people that you're looking for, that you're having a hard time finding good benefits to bring them on board. In saying so, we do that for you because we handle it with our own people. As a matter of fact, we make you more profitable, so you could take some of that profitability and put it into an employee retention program for your top A and B players. Also, by using contract skilled labor, you reduce your administrative back office costs because you have fewer people. Using contract skilled labor, you decrease advertising recruitment costs because now you have a partner. As John just said, you have an extension of your internal recruiting operations that is actually on their dime handling all the recruitment for the people that you need above and beyond your A and B players. And finally, and what is probably most attractive to contractors across the country is the fact that when you use contract skilled labor, it will help you minimize workers' comp costs in addition to exposure. And instead of me getting into the details on that, we're going to show a quick 84-second video and explaining how that actually works. Sandy? Sandy, can you play the video? Thank you.
Running a lean permanent workforce and supplementing that core employee base with Tradesman International craftsmen minimizes your workers' compensation exposure. It's simple math. If you have 10 permanent full-time employees on your payroll and you hire 10 additional employees, not only do you double premiums paid, you double the chance of having a workplace injury and an associated workers' compensation claim. That's double your exposure. Instead, when you use Tradesman's craft professionals for those 10 additional workers, you eliminate any incremental workers' compensation exposure. Why? Because our safety-minded employees are covered under our workers' comp insurance. As a result, a claim filed by one of our employees does not affect your experience modification rate, nor does it impact your insurance premiums. Finally, did you know that nearly 50% of all workplace accidents involve new employees on payroll? Just another sound reason to run a lean core workforce, comprised of your safest and most skilled employees, and to supplement them with our craft professionals as needed. Reduce your exposure. Reduce your costs. Partner with Tradesman International.
So I don't want to get the use that. Okay.
So
Okay then.
So as the video showed, if you go to the next slide, please. Obviously, you are substantially reducing your overall labor costs by increasing workforce productivity. You're increasing your margins.
Okay.
But when you add in the reduction of workers' comp cost exposure, SUTA, and so on.
What's the amount per month? I want to go ahead and tell my county manager.
And so on, your labor cost savings are reduced 11 to 24%. That's what we can get to CLN contractor members. So we'd love to work with CLN contractor members to show them exactly how it happens by giving you guys a free, no charge labor productivity analysis, W-2 analysis to see if it matches your business, and we think it will. Greg? Greg, back to you.
Thanks, Ed. I appreciate that so much. That was very informative. I'm going to start to land this thing, and I want to do a couple of in-house reminders to our team to mute your lines, please. But to those people out there on the webinar today, feel free to go ahead and type in questions in the chat box, and you will get a response from tradesmen. They will be emailed out to you and to everyone that is on today. So as we land this thing today, here's what I'd like to say. Is I want to bring Frank back into this. Frank, it seems so easy to implement the CORE+Flex staffing strategy. Talk about that for the next minute and a half here before we land this aircraft on the runway.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, as far as the CORE+Flex strategy, again, I think Ed had alluded to it. We want to keep it simple. We would prefer, as opposed to you're listening to a brief webinar, as opposed to you're seeing examples of other examples of business, job cost analysis, we would come out at your discretion and provide one to your business specifically. So it's pretty simple. Contact your local tradesman office, get an appointment, get a free labor productivity analysis. Let us look at, answer, like I said, a few simple questions. As a previous small business owner, again, how much time, does a small business owner have to do really hard business analysis or data mining? I mean, as a business owner, you are probably expediting and supervising and bidding and paperwork compliance and HR. You're wearing all the hats. So a lot of times we're on fire and we don't even know we're on fire because it becomes the new norm. So again, I would say, give us a call, give us an opportunity to come out. There's obviously no obligation. We're happy to build something specifically to your firm, whether you're HVAC, plumbing, electrical, carpentry. We know it's not one size fits all. You give us a little bit of information, we'll give you back a analysis, and then you let us know if it makes good fiscal sense to move forward with tradesmen. And if not, shake hands, be safe, and we'll see you out there. So thank you, Greg.
You're more than welcome, Frank. Thank you. And again, to you, Frank, John, and Ed, I want to thank you for your time today. I see that we do have a couple of questions, and maybe I've just got a moment or two to ask, but I want to remind everyone, if you have a question, feel free to put it in the box, and we'll respond to it. This question is for tradesmen. Do you guys have a footprint in Guam, and could this strategy be used there? Ed, I'll go to you or Frank, either one.
Yeah, so this is Ed, and so we have actually done work in Guam. We don't have a local office there, but we do work offshore, typically in United States territories. So that would be something that, yes, we can talk about, and clearly just send your name and your phone number so we can get back to you and let you know how we can make that happen.
Thanks, Ed. John, coming to you for a quick question. You got 30 seconds to answer this question that came in, okay?
Sure.
Are you at all concerned with tradesmen handling the bulk of your field work for your out-of-town projects? Are you at all concerned about that?
Well, they don't typically handle the bulk, but if I have the right talent on the project, meaning my foreman and my superintendent ranks, I'm completely confident because I'm confident in our people. And again, it's when you work with tradesmen, you can either use them as a service or you can use them as a partner. I choose to use them as a partner. They know what I need. I pick up the phone and I can speak to somebody on a Sunday, whatever time of day, I get the service. And you've got to set it up, and it takes planning. So if we're doing out of town work, it's not on a whim unless it's absolutely necessary. You know what I mean? But typically it's planned and thought out. I have the local talent work with the out of town, regional reps type of scenario, and I've got to manage it carefully. So it's like anything else. You got to manage everything. If you're working out of town, you hire a subcontractor and you don't know them, you've got to manage them properly. You hired them, they're yours, you got to manage it properly. So it's all that you put in is what you get out. So I'm confident, and I don't have those type of issues, to be quite honest with you. It's always worked out so far for me. Hopefully that answered it.
It did answer the question, John. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to land this thing and pull this aircraft in the hangar. But here's the bottom line. It is the bottom line. this is an opportunity for you to implement a strategy using tradesmen as a partner in their CORE+Flex arrangement. Put them as a strategic partner. Again, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for our sponsors, Poole Anderson, Tradesmen International, and the Construction Leadership Network. John, Frank, Ed, you guys are rock stars. Thank you for your time today. I'm going to hand it back to our host. Thank you all for being on the call.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. As Greg mentioned, for any unanswered questions we didn't have time to get to, you will be contacted by email with answers. Winners of the Amazon gift card drawing will be notified by email as well. This concludes today's presentation. Thanks for joining us.